Okay, I finally got it in my hand. This is the all-new iPhone 15 Pro, and the first thing I noticed touching this is just how much different the titanium makes this phone feel. On paper, it's just about 10% lighter than last year's iPhone 14 Pro, but the difference in your hand is accentuated by the all-new curved design. And while the new comfort doesn't translate it all over video, I'm telling you, I think visually the iPhone 12 still looks the best of most modern iPhones, but in your hand, the 15 is so much more comfortable and the overall DNA is still here. And while it's something that's really cool on the Pro, it is night and day on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. This phone feels so much lighter than it ever has, and while I've never used a phone this big because I always found it too bulky, the iPhone 15 Pro Max just might be the first year that I use this size for the first time ever because it actually feels manageable to me. Not to mention that new 5x telephoto camera, the one that everyone's been writing off as Apple missing the mark and not an actual innovation because it's just a 5x telephoto. This lens is the single most impressive piece of iPhone hardware that I have ever seen in over a decade of talking about the iPhone. The new tetraprism design has just given an image quality that I've never seen on an iPhone before. And I'm telling you, I know it sounds crazy. I know it doesn't seem like 5x is a big deal. You will completely change your mind after taking just one photo on the Pro Max's 5x telephoto. The clarity, the sharpness, the accuracy to real life with the color and the crazy dynamic range. The tetraprism design and the new sensor on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it is something that I have never seen from an iPhone, and while every year people say that it's basically a DSLR, this is unironically the closest we have ever gotten, and the 5x telephoto, even though it doesn't do the crazy zooming that other phones do, if you're talking about actual photography and getting the best possible image, there is no phone that comes close to the portrait and landscape photography you can get with this device. But while the telephoto was cool, I was wondering if Apple was going to do anything to the other cameras, and I'm so happy to say that the regular 1x camera has been also a massive jump forward for me. I haven't seen anybody talking about this, but Apple says they're using a new smart HDR5 algorithm to combine multiple exposures and combine them together really quickly for the best lit photo you can get. And the stock photos I'm getting on my iPhone 15 Pros are just night and day better than the 14 Pro. I found the processing to not work super well. I found things to either be over or underexposed for no explicable reason, and this year it feels like they nailed it. While the 48 megapixel sensor is over a year old, it feels perfectly tuned for these phones this year, and it seems like Apple took that criticism to heart that the processing wasn't great and they fixed it, which is amazing. And this goes without saying, but the video, of course, you're getting on these phones is out of this world. Apple continues to be the leader. There is literally no other phone in the world that gets even close to these. And if you care at all about video, you know what phone you should be buying. And shocker, the really other big upgrade this year is USB-C. I mean, it's not an iPhone 15 video if you don't mention this. And I know you're probably tired of hearing about it, but I can't understate how much I enjoy finally having this. It's not just the fact that I only need one cable for all my devices, which is in fact absolutely amazing. It's that all the photos and videos that I shoot on my phone, I can actually transfer off in a reasonable amount of time. The data transfer speeds are so good on the Pros, and even though they're still locked at USB 2 for the regular 15, the fact that Apple gives you an option to buy a phone with faster data transfer is something that I cannot leave unnoticed. Okay, Apple nailed that stuff, but I think some of the misses are first the action button. While it's really cool and I love that we finally have a button that is user reprogrammable to one of 9 different things, including the Shortcuts app, which allows you to reprogram it to essentially anything you want whatsoever. The UI for this is some of the best design I've ever seen from Apple. I think it's stunning. I want to see more of this new morphism, more realistic design language back on the iPhone. But at the end of the day, it's just one action. You press and hold it, it maybe goes to the camera or the flashlight, but you can't do 2 actions or 3 action. There's no double press or triple press. And it just seems like that would be really easy to put in here to give you some additional functionality. Right now, it's just really basic and it feels like a minor upgrade rather than what it could have been. Also, the A17 Pro chip has been literally unnoticeable from my experience. Apple talked so long about how this would redefine mobile gaming and how ray tracing was here, and they didn't talk a lot about more realistic use case scenarios, which as it turns out, I haven't noticed anything whatsoever. I know it's supposed to be faster, but it feels just as fast as my iPhone last year and the year before and the year before that because of just how well iOS runs on Apple's hardware. Cameras don't discern discernibly take photos any faster. I'm not noticing any speed improvements when actually browsing on my phone. I don't get why Apple is promoting the A17 Pro chip as the second reason next to the new design why you should buy a Pro model this year, because it simply does not show up when you use this phone. And if you were really excited for the A17, I'm sad to tell you that 3 nanometers on the iPhone for the first time doesn't seem to be doing much, specifically in regards to battery life, because the numbers have come out and the batteries physically inside of the iPhone 15 models are just about 2% larger in size than on the 14 Pro, which means that the battery life might be ever so slightly better, but not in some meaningful way. And that is really concerning considering what happened to the batteries on the iPhone 14 Pros from last year. A lot of iPhone 14 users, including myself, have seen really bad battery health. Less than a year into owning the phone, it's already down below 90%, which means the battery life is worse over time, quicker than ever. And seeing that Apple put essentially the same batteries in the iPhone 15s, I am legit worried that this could happen again, except this time, well, there's some silver lining. If you actually go into battery settings on the iPhone 15 specifically, for the first time ever, you can now limit the total charge of your iPhone battery to just 80% instead of 100. And why would you want to do that? Well, because when you don't charge a battery to 100% every single night, it extends the lifespan and lowers the total cycles that you put on the battery, which means that over time, if you're charging your iPhone to 80% every single night, that battery will need to be replaced way slower than a device that's charged to 100% every night, which is a direct response to what I specifically asked for as well. And while the batteries could be an issue this year, it does seem like Apple is at least listening and they are adding new features and software to try to mitigate this. And at the end of the day, I'll always take something over nothing. I just think we're going to really have to see this play out yet again, like we did for the 14 Pros. But zooming out and looking at these phones more holistically, this is the upgrade that myself, and I think a lot of other people have been waiting for. USB-C is here, way better cameras. You've got a new design that feels so much better in your hand. Broadly, Apple nailed the things that I care about. And while battery, we will have to wait and see. Every other part of this phone is passable, if not great. And I've just been really enjoying using these phones. So I want to hear your thoughts. It's a very interesting story this year. Let me know what you're thinking. If you're buying one, down below, what you got if you purchased one. I've been Sam. It's crazy. We were talking about these for so long. It's finally here. It's in our hands. It's the iPhone 15 Pro and it's available now. More videos coming very soon. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.